Paul Antoine, identity, style, fame, and becoming unapologetically yourself. Welcome back to the Rabbit Hole Podcast. Today's episode is all about transformation and not just how you look, but how you show up in the world. My guest today is Paul Antoine, a fashion entrepreneur, creative, and public figure who is genuinely changing the way men think about style, self-respect, and confidence. What makes Paul impact so powerful is that it doesn't stop at clothing. He's helping men elevate how they dress, which then ripples into every other area of their life. How they walk into rooms, how they speak, how they carry themselves, how they lead, how they show up in relationships, and ultimately how they see themselves. Because when a man starts taking pride in his appearance, it's rarely just about fashion. It's about identity, discipline, standards, and belief in self. Many people first came to know Paul through Married at First Sight, where he stepped into the national spotlight and experienced the pressure, judgment, and noise that comes with public scrutiny. But what you didn't see on the screen is the depth, resilience, and internal work required to stay grounded when the world has an opinion. In this conversation, we go far beyond television. We talk about fashion as a tool for personal growth, handling criticism, masculinity, and vulnerability, relationships, confidence without ego, and what it really takes to stay aligned when you're being watched. This episode is for the man who knows he's capable of more, for anyone looking to raise their standards, and for those who understand that when you change one area of your life, everything else starts to rise with it. This is a real conversation with real lessons from someone living it in real time. Let's get into it. Brother, well, mate, it's fucking good to have you in here, and I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something. So the way I like to start the podcast and give the audience a bit of an insight of how we met, how we networked, how we got to know each other. Talk me through that.
Yep. So shall we start on how you and I met?
Yeah. How did we meet?
You actually reacted to one of my posts on Instagram, and you left a beautiful comment, like saying how, like you were just being very supportive in that comment, and then from there we started chatting and we started getting to know each other, and then we then caught up for a coffee and then for a second coffee, and we just and that's when obviously you gave me the honor to come down and to be part of your podcast. Yeah.
It's so good to have you in here, and it's very rare you meet someone and from the first moment you meet you just get on like a house on fire, right?
I agree.
We got along so well, and it's very authentic, very genuine, and they're the type of relationships that I love. Like, I'm not looking for friends, I'm looking for brothers. And for me, it's so special to have met you, and then we've both been very busy, caught up for a second coffee, and it's like we saw each other yesterday.
Yeah.
So
yeah, literally.
What brings you into the studio today, and what really, why now?
So why now? So there's a lot of things that I wanted to talk about, about myself and about my experience, on MAFS and post MAFS and lots of other things, right? Now, obviously, I needed to let these things sit, for a while. I needed to be able to process. I needed to find the right words to use to be able to express and explain all, that crazy experience that MAFS was. Do you know what I mean? And now I felt ready more than ever. And I thought, I remember thinking, okay, I think this is the right timing. So, and you came along and you gave me that chance and that opportunity. So I thought, you know what, perfect, let's go.
It's like match made in heaven, mate. Match made in heaven.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about sort of, you do have a bit of a unique journey as well. You've had a very sort of eclectic life to date, to say the least. But
Totally.
Let's take me back to your early days growing up in overseas. Talk me through Paul as a young fella.
So I'm French, born and raised. I know I may not sound French much anymore because I've now been living in Australia and in Perth for 12 years. And I moved to Perth 12 years ago in 2013 as a 19-year-old boy, with absolutely zero confidence in himself, extremely shy. I had absolutely no idea where life was going to take me. I arrived in a country where, that I knew nothing about, couldn't speak a word of English, everything that just felt familiar, back home in France, all of a sudden that was gone.
Yeah, of course.
I had nothing to hold on to. And I essentially had to start a whole new life from scratch completely. You know, it's and I often, you know, use the word or compare it as being a newborn baby again. The basic thing of communication, all that was just gone. Couldn't speak a word of English, so like I just had to relearn how to, you know, make new friends. I had to learn a whole new language, and you know, I just had to start a whole new life. Yeah.
Take me through that. So what was the catalyst for the move, you know, halfway across the world to a country that you didn't even speak the language of? I mean, that takes a lot of courage in its own right. Talk me through that.
It certainly does. Look, I obviously didn't just decide to make that move, you know. My dad got given an opportunity to come and work here in Perth. For him, it was a huge opportunity for his career. Would have been silly for him to decline that. So he obviously took that opportunity, and then essentially me, my mum, and my youngest sister, the four of us, relocated to Perth. And at the time, it was hard because it was the unknown, and like I said, I had to leave everything behind, the rest of my family, my friends, everything that felt familiar. And all of a sudden, I'm in a country that I know nothing about, no friends, I can't speak the language, you know, and everything else that comes with it. And but obviously now it's been 12 years, and you know, I think it was the best thing we ever did. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a huge move for the whole family, and for your dad. Did your dad speak French, like full French and Australian? Oh, and
yes.
English?
Well, so Dad has
English?
always spoken like a decent English because obviously he has always worked internationally, and so English was part of his job. So Dad could already.
What industry is your dad in?
So my dad he's a researcher in marine optic.
Wow.
So he currently works as a professor at Curtin University. He doesn't teach though. He's got the status of professor but doesn't teach. So he's still researching and does all that. So, but yeah, specializes in marine optic. So don't ask me to explain exactly what that consists of, unless you have another 3 hours.
We got all the time in the world, mate.
All right.
All the time in the world. But no, that's pretty cool, and I feel like that's part of your story that not many people know. I mean, to move to another country, to a foreign country that you don't even speak the national language is absolutely incredible. As a 19-year-old, where you've developed so many habits and so many, you speak to me so fondly about your latest trip back home to France, and it's obviously had a huge impact on you, which is incredible. But what are some of the traditions that you sort of partaken in when you were back there that you wish you could do over here in Australia as well? Because I know it had a real impact on you, didn't it, this last trip?
Look, I don't know if there's any specific cultural thing that I always look forward to or that I miss. The things I miss the most about, obviously, it's, you know, the rest of my family.
Of course.
And it's also just maybe just a way of life. You know, just it's actually really hard to explain, and it's still hard to explain or to put words on that. But it's, you know, obviously my heart will always be attached to France. You know, it's where I was born, it's where I grew up, it's where the rest of my family lives. You know what I mean? But it's I think it's just a whole. It's really hard to explain. It's a whole thing. It's a cultural thing. It's, you know, because, you know, France, Europe it's an old, very, very old continent. France is an old country with old roots, an very old history, and, you know, and yeah, it's unless you were, you know, born and raised somewhere in Europe, you know, could understand or relate to that, but it's a very hard thing to explain. You know, it's. Yeah.
Can I say as well, right? So let me tell you something. So when I traveled to France and Europe as a whole, I did a bit of a European tour back in 2024, and I remember being in Paris for three days. It was 3 days, and went to the Palace of Versailles. And growing up in Australia, right? So I was actually born in Europe, but growing up in Australia for most of my life, like seeing the Palace of Versailles and just seeing the culture, the architecture, the gardens, like just that whole vibe. And, you know, we did a few other palaces throughout Spain and whatnot. And it's just incredible. Like there's no other words to put it. Like I walked in there and I was just like, I don't even like the feeling of just like complete and utter euphoria, just the wow factor it blew my mind. Such a beautiful place, and that's something that Europe does so well. It's far and away the most superior continent on the planet. I don't think anything even comes close. So that was my experience, and it's that sort of energy that cannot be faked.
It's an energy. I like that. It's an energy. There's an energy over there that's quite strong.
It stays with you, and it captures your soul, doesn't it?
It does, exactly. From it's strong from its history and from how old it is, and I get, totally.
Now, Paul, it's really important we start off, and I need to ask you. We've had a lot of very, very handsome men in our Rabbit Hole podcast studios. I think you may take the cake. Talk to me how and what is your recollections of getting into fashion? Yeah. I know you're so passionate about showing up for yourself, and by doing so you inspire others. When did fashion become such an integral part of your life and really, make up the fabric of who you are as a person? But it speaks volumes. I'm a big believer that look good, feel good, do good things, and the way that you sort of show up for yourself and present yourself as a man as well talks a lot about the values that you hold near and dear. So talk me through that, and what are your recollections of getting into fashion?
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for all these beautiful compliments.
Just talking the facts.
Look, honestly, I think deep down, without even knowing, I always had a passion for fashion. And I'll tell you something. It's actually and it's funny because I've realized that actually quite recently. I remember as a kid, and I'm talking like back in France. Do you remember when, I'm sure you've experienced those as well, back in the days, we had those catalogs, and you used to buy your clothes on those catalogs.
It would come in the mail. And then you would...
That's right. And then it would come through the mail.
Yeah,
right?
and you'd tick them off what you wanted and send it back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good old days.
Exactly what I'm talking about.
Good old
days. There you go. And I remember as a kid, I remember spending hours going through these catalogs and asking my mum and dad, "Mom, Dad, can I have this sweater? Can I have these pants? Oh, I love these shoes. Can I have these shoes?" But I remember I could spend hours and hours flicking through those catalogs and just looking at clothes and wishing and hoping I could have this, I could have that, And so I think this is when my real passion for fashion started, because as a kid and as a teenager, I always wanted to have I always wanted to be up to the latest trend. I always wanted the new sweatpants, the new sweatshirt, the new pants, the new shoes. I've always loved it, And maybe at the time it was maybe a way to try to express myself, because I was a very shy, extremely shy kid. And maybe fashion was in a way for me to actually express myself without having to talk.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that entirely makes sense and is very logical, right? Like, of course, if you're shy, there's so many different ways to express yourself: body language, verbal,
right.
The way you dress, and I think that's tells a lot of me about me, tells a lot about you to me in regards to that inner work that you've done and understanding why you are who you are and why you love to present yourself in a in such a impeccable manner. I think it goes deeper than just fashion, right? So you look at the fashion industry as a whole, right? You've got all these, luxury brands that, a lot of the time will prey on people's insecurities and really target people that probably don't have the financial abundance to be able to purchase it, and it stretches them, right? Mm-hmm. I'm a big believer that, sometimes less is more with fashion, and the way that you present yourself speaks volumes about sort of how you hold yourself, how you carry yourself, and the most important thing is it affects your posture. And when I say posture, I don't mean, Hunchback at Notre Dame. I'm talking the energy, the aura that you carry when you walk through a room or when you sit down. And talk to me about sort of your vision of what you're building, not only just on your platform, but who you are as a person with fashion, because I know you inspire a lot of sort of younger male audience that look up to you and see how well you dress and they implement it themselves.
Yeah. Well, look, I think to me, fashion is extremely important. I mean, fashion is very broad. Again, there's lots of different style, and everyone has their own style, and I have my own, which is that that old classic menswear. But to me, it's definitely a way to, like I said before, to express myself, to show up for myself, and then it's also a form of respect for myself. A form of respect to the people that I'm surrounded by. When I go somewhere, if I'm invited to an event, whatever it may be, a birthday, a wedding, you name it, I like to show up for myself, but I also like to dress up to obviously also respect the people that are receiving me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's something that I really want to sort of really tell the audience how important it is as well, that from a European culture, fashion is probably a little bit more prominent in that society, right?
Totally.
So the way that you not only do you represent yourself, but the way that you show up for others speaks volumes of like sort of your last name and your heritage.
Yeah.
Whereas in Australia, it's probably not as common, unfortunately. Just different cultures. Not saying it's right or wrong, but yeah, in Europe, like the way that you represent yourself speaks volumes about your family and sort of the respect that you have for yourself. So yeah, I love that how you bring that up, because it is impactful.
I'd like to bounce back on that, because in Europe, obviously, I'll pick the example of France, because that's where I'm from.
Of course.
Obviously, fashion is heavily...
It's woven.
Exactly.
It's woven into the very
part of
fabric.
Our culture. Exactly.
Yeah, the very fabric of your society.
Which is great, because I love my fashion, and I think presenting well, dressing well is extremely important in our society and just in general. But on the other hand, it can be a bit of a double-edged sword, because you also get heavily judged for what you wear and for how you look. So, which, I don't necessarily obviously agree with. I think it's important everyone should express themselves the way they want. And I express myself through fashion. But the way someone looks or the way someone dress up shouldn't lead to criticism, for example. Each to their own. I still think that man should put more effort, and just people in general should put more effort into dressing up well, because I think, again, it's extremely important, because it's a form of respect for yourself, to respect yourself and others around you. But there's a fine line between these things, if that makes sense, right? It's
absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing that people, once you get into that mindset of really showing up for yourself, it dominoes into every other aspect of your life.
Totally.
And that's where I come in, and I think far out, if I dress well, I have great personal hygiene, great personal sort of grooming standards and whatnot, you feel better, you start to make better decisions, you have better outcomes, and your life ultimately gets far better, and you level up in all realms of human endeavour, which is what I love. It all starts with how you do something is the way you do everything.
Yeah. I mean, and also, to be fair, I totally agree with that, but I'm also, and I'm fully aware of, and I'm extremely grateful also to be in a situation where I can express myself through fashion. There's lots of people out there who can't afford clothes, or who can't afford the clothes that I'm wearing. So that's also a thing, right? So I'm always extremely aware of like the situation that I'm in and how lucky I am to be able to, own all these clothes and to be able to express myself through fashion, because it's not cheap.
No, of course not. But it's cool that you're so grateful, and that forms part of the whole posturing that I was talking about, is like you being grateful and you understanding that, hey, I'm in a fortunate position, and not everyone can afford my wardrobe, but at the same time, you're very humble about it, and you provide a lot of value and inspiration for others, and that's the biggest flex, in my opinion. It's not about money, it's not about views, it's not about likes, it's the impact.
Because I never used to be. Back in like when I was younger, or years ago, or as a kid, my parents couldn't afford to, all these things. Like I come from a very modest family. We weren't poor, but like from a very modest family. There was times where like my family were, my parents were struggling a bit at the end of the month. You know what I mean? So as a kid, like I said, I've always wanted to have all these things, but I was never able to. So obviously, as I grew up, and I obviously, with the life that I have now, I'm able to afford all these things, and I'm able to express myself through fashion, which again I'm so grateful for.
And it shows too, right? And that's why you are attracting some great brands that want to work with you, because it's genuine and it's authentic, and it comes from a place of real legacy. Like I always like to think that legacy isn't what you leave behind; it's what you leave in people.
100%.
And that's something that really rings true, especially nowadays, right?
Yeah.
Now, my brother, Paul, we cannot talk about your story without touching upon one of the absolutely polarizing experience that you had on Married at First Sight, also known as MAFS. I know you've been looking forward to this segment, mate, but no, absolutely. In all seriousness, in this topic, there's some really big points that I want to talk about, and I know we've spoken about it on our coffee meetings and gatherings, and I don't think there has been too many people that have gone through what you've experienced at the heightened scrutiny and pressure that came your way last year.
Yep.
Like, credit to you for the mental fortitude that you had to get through it, and to also take it on the chin and cop it and admit that, hey, if I had my time again, I may have not have done that. But also at the same time, you've learned from it, you've grown from it. I truly believe you wouldn't be the man you are today if it wasn't for the MAFS experience. And that time to reflect and talk about it so openly now, here it is. It's a Rabbit Hole exclusive. So first of all, Paul, what made you decide to go on the show?
What made me decide to go on the show? Why not? No, honestly, in all honesty. So I got approached, to participate, and I mean, obviously at that stage, it doesn't mean I was on there,
How does that happen? So talk me through, and my audience will be very curious. Like, does someone message you on Instagram? How does it work?
Yep. So production, obviously, their production, they've got, an army of producers who essentially just slide into hundreds or maybe even thousands of people's DMs, and simply saying that they're casting for Married at First Sight. So I was one of those. I received a text message I received a DM on Instagram, and they were saying they were casting for Married at First Sight, and I was a bit. I thought it was a scam at the start, to be fair. I remember seeing this message, and that person didn't have too many followers, and I thought, nah, that's a scam. That's not real. And then essentially, realized that, okay, no, it is legit. That's a real person. And,
Yep.
And I was actually a bit skeptical about it. Couldn't really make a decision, didn't know what to do. A part of me wanted to do it, part of me didn't want to do it. I was a bit, I couldn't make up my mind. And essentially after a few weeks of, thinking about it, asking my friend's opinion about it, family, I remember thinking, well, you know what, I guess why not? That sounds like a fun experience in itself. And also, I guess I was very open at the time to meet the right person. I was very open to that. Although I went on there with zero expectations, not expecting anything. But I was very open to it, which is actually like one of the first things I actually said to my casting producer when we had our first Zoom meeting. I said to her, look, I'll be very honest with you. Whoever you guys are going to match me with, if it works out, happy days. That's all I'm asking for. I was open to that.
For sure.
And if not, it doesn't matter. I'll just get back to my normal life, which is a great life.
Get back to being the Prince of Perth.
We'll just move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which basically is exactly what's happened. Like, it didn't work out in the end, and and we moved on.
Exactly. And because it is such a, eclectic experience as well, that especially yours, to say the least, like what were some expectations versus realities that you faced?
Yeah. Well, obviously, but that's the thing. Like, I actually didn't know what to expect. I knew what MAFS was, but I hadn't watched any other seasons before that. I forced myself to watch a little bit of the season prior to mine, just to have an idea of, okay, how are they structuring this show? What do they do? All that stuff, right? So I didn't really know what to expect. There was a few things I expected, but again, there was a huge difference between what I was expecting and the reality.
Absolutely.
And then when I was there and when the reality hits you in the face, you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
This is not what I expected. This is not what I expected,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Now let's get into it, right? So this is a Rabbit Hole exclusive. I don't think you've actually ever shared your side to the story, and we're going to go deep.
Let's go deep.
talk me through what happened that infamous night during MAFS that basically decided the director's cut from that instance. Talk me through what happened, who you were with, and how it all went down.
Yeah. So look, obviously I was paired up with a woman. Her name was Karina, who was also from Perth. And funny enough, her and I had already had an encounter. Her and I, roughly a year prior to filming, her and I had matched on a dating app, and her and I went on a walk. Literally went for a beautiful hike in the hills of Perth. And honestly, that day was a great day. We had a great time. We got to know each other, and I remember thinking, oh, this woman's actually, she seems like a really nice woman. And anyway, I had a great time, and then after that, both went our separate ways, went home, and we kept texting for a few days, and essentially things fizzled out. It never led to a second date, which is fine. And to be fair, I think at that time, although I had agreed to go on that first date, I don't think I was fully prepared or ready for a relationship. But, I still went on that date because I remember thinking, hey, you never know, Anyway, and then obviously funny, and obviously like 12 months later,
yeah,
on Married at First Sight, and there's no way producers could have known because at that point in time, her and I we didn't have each other on socials anymore. We have quite a fair few friends in common, but there's no way production could have known. So 12 months later, at the altar, I'm turning around, and then bang, there she is, and I'm like, this is wild. And at that very moment, I remember, first of all, I was shocked. Like, I was just like, wow, I didn't even know what to think. But then as time went on, and as the whole ceremony went on, I remember feeling almost like reassured.
Did she know?
No, I don't think she knew either. Both of us did not know because you could see the real shock on our faces.
On both of your faces?
On both of our faces.
Because
it was nuts, man. It was insane.
She would have recognized you. If you spent a whole day hiking, she would have 100% recognized
each other instantly.
Yeah.
Instantly.
So you turn around, you see her walking down the aisle, and you're like, wow.
Literally. And I think we were
destiny to that,
because
isn't it?
we actually didn't even say anything straight away because I think we were both so shocked that we almost like froze. We didn't even know what to say. So we just went on with it.
Of course.
And then I remember like during the ceremony, like while filming, I dropped that little comment saying, wow, what are the chances? And that's when obviously producers, they obviously, because they listen to everything we say.
Of course they do.
And that's when producers went, wait, hold on a minute. These two know each other? And then it just, and then it was literally the biggest bombshell, bang, straight off the bat.
They had a free home run to get kick-started the season.
Literally. And then obviously it was the beginning of trouble because obviously straight from the bat, the word ghosting got thrown in there, because obviously her producers asked, oh, how do you know Paul? Oh, we went on a date and then he ghosted me, which... Really, can you say ghosting? I don't think so.
After a date?
All we had done was one date. We went on a 2-hour walk. Then after that, things genuinely fizzled out. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So
did you kiss on the first date?
No, we didn't. There was actually not even a kiss. Nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. Like that, like absolutely, literally nothing. It was just,
when you get some
just a walk,
exclusives.
Grabbed a coffee, went for a hike in the hills. That's it.
Bang.
Right?
Bang.
Right? It's crazy. Anyway, and obviously... After the word ghosted got thrown in there, straight after that, it's like, okay, Paul is already a guy that can't be trusted because he previously ghosted her. No. I never ghosted anyone. Do you know what I mean? Like
was that the start of the villain?
That was exactly. So
that
I was already starting on that annoying, that was a bit of an annoying start already, because it's from the start. It's like I had to make up for it for something that hadn't happened,
Yeah, you were building a house on fucking quicksand from the very beginning, weren't you?
Literally. So from the like straight off the bat, it's like, okay, well now I have to make up for it, and then I have to prove myself, and I have to. When really, again, there was nothing there.
It's interesting to me as well, right? And we've spoken about this quite a bit, but the slave mind of people. Right, is they can get fed anything. The news,
literally.
they like. I mean, if the last 6 years doesn't tell you that people are sheep, then I don't know what will.
Literally.
So if they tell you that, hey, Paul ghosted Karina, he's just a terrible human being.
Literally.
We've got no evidence to back it up. We've got no evidence to back it up. But if we purport this for long enough and we throw enough mud, it will stick. And it makes me, it infuriates me and it shits me to tears. But then I shouldn't be surprised because people are sheep, and there is very few critical thinkers out there, which is just the realities of the world. Now, talk me through sort of. I know you and Karina had met each other once, which is crazy, but. Also, like, so you started to build a bit of a connection, would you say, early on? Of course.
Well, because physically she's so my type. Physically, I'm extremely attracted to her. And we both were. right? Which was great. But then obviously during the wedding, because I genuinely felt like, okay, like, you know what, I'm actually going to, you know, take my courage and I'm going to actually, because that's what I did. I went up to her parents and spoke to her parents straight away and say, hey, look, I think this is something you need to know. Karina and I, a year ago, we went on a date, blah, blah, blah. It didn't go anywhere. It fizzled out. But Karina and I know each other. So I admitted that to her parents, admitted that maybe I should have communicated that a bit better with her at the time, but that I didn't because I was going through, you know, some stuff. But anyway, me doing that to them, like they were so appreciative of it. It was very well received. And then after that, things were great, you know, and then her and I, we, you know, started getting to know each other and then we started creating that real chemistry. There was a real connection, like undeniably, like honestly. And I remember thinking, wow, like honestly, like it actually feels like the universe is almost giving us that chance that we were meant to have at the start.
Yeah. Well, that's what ultimately when you said that, you know, you've met her before for that one sort of, you know, date, it's like the universe has brought you back together for a reason. Like there's a bit of, you know, lightning in a bottle, destiny in the stars, you know, so to speak. But talk me through that sort of first couple of weeks on MAFS, sort of getting to know each other properly and more intrinsically. How did that go down? You said you know, that you were, you know, very attracted to her. She's, you know, an attractive woman, of course.
Totally. Yeah.
So where were things going with that, and where were things leading in your eyes?
So for the first few weeks of, you know, the experiment, her and I, again, it's there's that chemistry. We're getting along. It's easy. Everything just flows, and it's great. And I'm like, okay, this is amazing, right? And then obviously there's been that big famous incident, which was, you know.
How far through the big incident, right? So that occurred. Talk me through how far that was through the whole sort of production. Yeah.
So obviously so the first few weeks were great, and then we obviously had that, you know this what's the word? That the night essentially where, you know, I punched my bedroom door.
What led up to it? Let's give a real insight.
So
let's give some context, okay? Because I think it's really important. And let me just make one thing clear: we all make mistakes, mate. And I think with context, and I'm certainly not advocating for what you did, and I know that you know, you've learned from it, and you're a better man because of it. But there is times where we've all done things that we're not proud of, and the big thing is that self-forgiveness and understanding that learning from it and becoming a better human could be the ultimate, you know, level up in life. So talk me through the whole day that led to it.
Yeah. So during filming, so first of all, we were filming from Monday to Friday. None of us were filming on weekends. Well, there's been a few exceptions, but most of the time we had weekends free. So we had weekends for us to go unwind and do our own thing. Thank God we had that.
or as couples. Or just by yourself?
No, like couples,
Couples, yeah.
And one weekend, so I remember it was one Sunday afternoon, so myself, Karina, and another couple from the experiment, which, by the way, we weren't really meant to catch up between couples, but, you know, that's what you do on MAFS, you know, you still break the rules a bit, you know? And so the four of us went on the double date, and it was beautiful.
Who were the other two?
The other two, Jeff and Reece. So the four of us went on a double date. We went for a beautiful lunch and then had a few drinks afterwards. It was a beautiful afternoon. It was amazing. Beautiful afternoon in Sydney at the harbour. Amazing. And then obviously, like later into the evening, obviously at some stage we had to go back to the apartment where we were filming, where we all stay, because we have a curfew that we all had to stick to for health and safety purposes, you know what I mean, stuff like that. So here we are on our way back to the apartment. So we're all jumping in the same cab, right? I remember I'm sitting at the back with the girls. Jeff is sitting at the front, passenger seat. All having a good time, singing, listening to music, having a great time, right? And then my partner Karina just has at that time is requesting to play a song in the car, which honestly I cannot remember the bloody name of the song, but anyway, it was a rap song, you know,
Do we remember the
from
rapper?
From a famous rapper.
Yeah. Do we know the rapper?
I can't remember the name of the rapper. Who was he? I can't remember. But famous American rapper.
Let's just plug a name out there.
Yeah,
Let's get some views. Quick break to shout out today's sponsor, Jock Socks. I met the owner Arkian out for lunch, put them on in the bathroom before our food even arrived, and I genuinely haven't taken them off since. I threw away all my other underwear and socks. They're made from bamboo, super breathable, incredibly comfortable, built for long days and everyday wear. Head to the Jock Socks website and use code Reece15 for a 15% off discount. Eminem.
And as the music plays in the cabs.
So famous American rapper plays in
Famous
the car,
American
in
rap
the taxi.
music.
In the taxi.
In the taxi, yeah.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she just, and honestly, like, I was still shocked. I remember, like, out of nowhere, she starts laughing and she goes, by the way, guys, I've slept with this guy. And I'm just sitting at the back there, like, whoa, well, that was unnecessary, right?
Yep.
Now, here's the context.
Yeah.
I was already aware of that. I already knew about her past because a few weeks prior, during a MAFS, what do they call it? Like it was one of the experts' task, so during one of the previous tasks, like a few weeks prior, she had opened up about her past. So I was already aware of the past, right? I already knew about it. The reason why I was upset that night about it was about the fact that she, first of all, had to brag about it in front of her own partner, which is a very disrespectful thing to say, and also in front of other people. There's other people here, right? So it's not a very very classy thing to say. Do you know what I mean? It's disrespectful towards your husband, But anyway, and I was also like extremely upset at the fact that at that point in time, she obviously had completely contradicted herself because a few weeks prior, like I said, one of the tasks that was given to us by the experts, where we had to write a letter to be vulnerable. That task was again, like I said, essentially we had to write things about our lives, about ourselves, something that we may have never spoken about. And again, the whole purpose of that was to be vulnerable to our partner. We'll see at least if we could be vulnerable with our partners. So that day in my letter, I wrote some real heavy things, spoken about people that have died around me when I was younger, spoken about heartbreaks, I've literally poured my whole heart out that day, and dropped a few T's even.
Did they get you to write it down?
Yeah. Like I wrote that like in a letter. Do they
read it?
So no, that's the thing. So this whole task that her and I did, that didn't make it to air.
You're kidding me.
No, that didn't make it to air. So you'll see it gets better. So that was me. So that's the things that I had in my letter, talking about real heavy stuff, real genuine, raw things, right? And then in her letter that day, she expressed how she felt guilty and always a bit ashamed of some of these years that she had lived back when she used to live in America, and she was obviously heavily involved in that scene of, in nightclubs and surrounded by famous singers, rappers, and that. So I was already aware of that past because after she wrote that letter to me, and that was my response to her letter, word for word. I looked at her that day and I said, look, honestly, what you've done in your past, I couldn't care less. What matters to me is the person you are today and the person you're going to be in the future. That's the only thing that I care about. Have they shown that? Absolutely not. That didn't make it to air, right? So the reason why I got very upset that night in the cab is not only she was bragging about it, but then she was also contradicting herself, because in her letter, she's expressing and saying how remorseful and how ashamed she is of that past. And then a week or two later, literally brags about it. So it's like, whoa. Who are you? Are you being genuine with me? Are you being real with me? Or are you just, were you faking it? Right. So that to me, it went deeper than that, right?
Went a lot deeper, yeah.
So that's the reason why I was very upset that night. So made it back to the apartment. I'm fucking fuming. I'm trying to, I'm just like, not in a great mood. But anyway, we went back to our apartment, went off to bed. I just can't sleep because this thing is just, it's bothering me a lot. And when I'm bothered, when I'm angry, I just need space. I just want to be left alone. I don't want to talk, which I was desperately trying to, but I wasn't really getting the physical and the emotional space that I was asking that day. Went out of the apartments a couple of times, came back in, and still not getting that, not even just like, emotional, but not getting that physical, not being left alone physically, like on me physically, asking to be, forgiven instantly, straight away. And I'm like, no, I don't want to talk about it. We leave it for tomorrow. No, she just wanted to resolve the situation instantly. I was like, no, I just can't do that. Things got quite heated, and then, some mean words started getting thrown at me for no reason, and, the tension went up, and, and it was a time, I think, also in the experiment where, my cup was already quite full, like I think, the long hours of filming, the constant pressure from producers, there was already a lot of drama involved in the whole experiment, like I was already like there, you know what I mean? So that was essentially the cherry on the cake. And then I literally that night, I just simply as I'm walking outside my bedroom door's in front of me, and it's literally like annoying me because the bloody door isn't even fucking opening properly, and I just went bang, and I just threw a punch in my bedroom door and then just walked off. And from then, that's it. I was dead to the world. I was a violent person. I started getting associated to domestic violence and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the link to domestic violence is a tough one, right? Because, that's a label that is so vehemently disgusting, and it's when it's thrown around for an incident and like by no means am I saying that what you did was, I'm not advocating for it one bit. I know who you are as a person, and I know it was an error in judgment, and we've all had them, and we all will have them. But I just think it's dangerous when you start throwing around big terms like that,
totally,
without actually the substance behind it. It's very dangerous. And look, I just want to say,
and without even knowing who I am as a person.
Yeah, exactly. But I also think domestic violence is such a disgusting, heinous act.
It is,
and
totally.
And to be tarred and to be painted with that same brush is I mean, I could only imagine the feelings that you must have been experiencing.
It was very heavy to carry for a while. It was heavy to carry because it was simply just not me. And, it felt like I was carrying a 100-kilo backpack for months that I couldn't get rid of, and it was heavy to carry, very heavy to carry.
I know I'd love to know the mindset that you had, the emotional and mental toll that the scrutiny that you faced during that period. Yep. How did you deal with it? Did you seek help from, an external source like a therapist or a psychologist? Because I don't even watch MAFS.
Yeah.
Like I've had friends on it in the past, and I've watched the first episode for 20 minutes, and then that was it, me done. Yeah. But there is so many people in the country that watch it, love it, and that's fine. That's fine. It's just not my cup of tea. I'm too busy. I'm too busy to watch TV. That's full right. Stop. Right. So I know my parents. My mum. I don't want to throw Dad under the bus. I don't think Dad watches it. But Mum definitely does. Mum definitely does. Anyway, so what I'm trying to say though is that people watch it. It's very popular, and when you get the villain edit, right, and they're sort of shaped and they're led to the slaughterhouse to believe, hey, this is Paul. He punched a door and now he's the worst person in the world. So talk to me about how you dealt with that scrutiny, because that sort of pressure, very few people have ever faced and will ever face in their life. So I want to hear.
So obviously after the incident, like, first of all, obviously it was an instant regret, like instantly. Like I was just like, what have I done? Like, and I was confused because that's not how Paul deals with his emotions normally. Paul is someone who usually just sits back, chills, he's quite chilled, and, like I don't really react, you know.
You have good emotional
So
control.
I wanted to, like, I was, obviously, like I said, I regretted that instantly. I felt ashamed because it was so not me. Genuinely felt ashamed and felt dirty. Dirty is the word. It's like I had something dirty on me that wasn't me, and that I was trying to get rid of.
It was like a lingering smell.
Literally, a great way to put it. And obviously having to face, during the experiment, having to face not just the whole rest of the cast, but having to face the expert, the whole production about this was horrendous.
And
it was
also,
horrendous.
And also as well, like, anything domestic violence related, I'm glad that they investigated. I'm glad that
because they have to, and it's necessary.
It's
totally
100% necessary. Yeah. Anything that could be remotely seen as domestic violence needs to be investigated, not just on a reality TV show, but in the wider world.
But just in the world in general.
In the world in general. Like, I cannot be any more
It is a very important topic.
I really feel strongly about it, is that there is absolutely nothing that can be said positive about domestic violence. It is absolutely disgusting. It's filthy. Anyone that commits those heinous acts, need to be served at the full letter of the law. But I understand that the MAFS cast, have got to, not the MAFS cast, the MAFS, producers and work health and safety have to investigate. But talk me through that, because I know you've got this instant regret, and now you're about to face the music, you're about to face the judge, jury, and executioner.
That's right. So that was really hard to deal with. Obviously, having to face that, and I was extremely remorseful, and I don't think I could have been more remorseful than I have at the time.
You owned it, didn't you?
And took full accountability, and that's the thing. Like, it was such a one-off mistake, and it's like no one believed that. It's like, no, Paul has done that before. And it's like, no, that was a one-off mistake, because I was literally, and I've been in an environment that no one would want to have to experience or face that type of environment. A very toxic environment, high pressure cooker environment. It's insane. Like, it's honestly the thing that they put us through, and this environment is so toxic.
Talk me through some of the big things that come to mind when you call it toxic.
Well, it's toxic in a sense where everything they do on a daily basis is to put us on that flight or fight mode constantly. We're constantly on edge, ready to react, ready to explode. All the things that we normally have on a daily basis to unwind, to feel human, they take that away from us. It's insane. Like, it's honestly, it's insane. And the general public, they don't know that. They don't see the behind the scene. They have no idea. All they see is a final edit on TV. That's all they see. But they don't see everything that's everything that's been done to make it look that way. I mean, it's unreal. But then obviously, after that incident, I during filming did counselling. I did counselling simply because I wanted to first of all be able to to learn how to forgive myself for it, because it took me weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to learn how to forgive myself for that, because I genuinely felt so remorseful and so ashamed, and I didn't know how to get rid of those feelings. So counselling was great for that, because it really helped me to understand those feelings, to learn how to sit with them, and to learn how to move past it, and to just simply how to feel human again. Do you know what I mean?
What were some of the methods that the counsellor provided for you?
And also that therapist was great at, obviously wasn't judging me at all. He just made me feel human again. Do you know what I mean? And it was great, because I genuinely, like, the way I felt during that time was atrocious.
I couldn't even imagine the mental state that you must have been in, right? And when you're labelled as the villain, right, no one's concerned about your mental health besides your nearest and dearest, right? No one gives a fuck. And so that's something that I really wanted to hash on, and really touch upon. How did you navigate the online hate, the negative comments? What was your methods with that? And did you have sort of coping mechanisms in place to ensure that, it didn't get you down, or it didn't get you into a bad, dark spot?
So post-show, I kept, doing counselling. I didn't stop because again, it was like you said, it was extremely heavy. It was really hard to cope with that heavy criticism. People, just because they've seen you on TV, they think they know you, and all of a sudden they feel like everyone has an opinion on you, on your life, on what you've done. But what they don't realize is they've been fed a version of you that's been fabricated. that's been completely, fully edited, taken out of context. And, you know, this is what the show does, and this is what people do. This is what a lot of viewers do, is they completely dehumanize you. It's like all of a sudden you're not a human, you're a character. But I'm not a character, I'm still a human, you know. You know nothing about my existence. I'm 32 years old. All you've seen is a version of me that's not me on TV for 4 months, right? So that was the real hard part, is just being judged for someone that I'm not, right? And for a heavily edited version of whatever they've shown on TV, right? So it was really hard to deal with that, and to deal with all that heavy criticism online. So I just sought help again and just kept doing counseling to learn the cues on how to navigate through, on how to navigate through all that, and it's the best thing I ever did, because, after weeks and months of counseling, you start to learn, little cues, little things to do to, essentially you learn on it just becomes noise, essentially, at one point. All that criticism, all these people hating on you, it just becomes noise, and you learn how to just completely let it flow, and it just simply just doesn't hit you anymore at some stage,
Yeah, and I feel like if you can control that mindset and really establish that bulletproof mindset where good and bad, let's say feedback or comments or, those that hate or love, if you can learn to not let that shape how you feel about yourself, then all of a sudden you release the shackles, and you're no longer a prisoner to external, factors, which is the most powerful, enlightening stage that you can get to. What's your thoughts? Did you ever have any concerns when you were out? When you were, out in public, because, you're a very well-known figure. I mean, you got the villain arc edit like there was like no one else. So very recognizable. I don't even watch. Like I said, I didn't even watch MAFS, right? And even I recognize you. So, it's like, it just goes to show people that do watch MAFS. Did you ever get any like negative interactions in person?
No. So that's the thing. Like, after the show, in public, all I've had was love, pure love. The only people, all the people that kept coming up to me were absolutely lovely. They wanted to get to know me. They wanted to ask me questions about the show. They were all asking for a photo and stuff like that. So honestly, I haven't had, a single negative interaction with anyone.
It's funny when there's not a keyboard and a screen, right?
But yeah, literally, exactly. Because once again, like exactly like you said, all these haters are just keyboard warriors. Not a single one of them would have the courage to come up to you if they saw me, to say what they've said online to my face. Never. And I knew that, like they just, yeah. And but the only thing though is, for the first time ever in my entire life, because like I said, like post-show, the criticism was so intense at one point. Some of the articles that kept coming out about me were just absolutely horrendous, were false, and it's just like, I was like, what the hell is wrong with people? And for the first time ever in my life, I actually developed public anxiety, which, you hear about. And I knew people who were suffering from public anxiety. And, I could never fully understand. I could sympathize with these people, but I could never fully understand, because it's not something that I had ever experienced until that day. And I remember I went to the city just to do a normal, it was another shopping day, buying clothes. And
you're good at that.
Yeah, I'm good at that. And I remember all of a sudden I started building this. I just had this panic attack, massive panic attack. Just, and it took control completely. And then I had this massive panic attack where it just, like, I remember I'm walking on one of the biggest streets of Perth, and it's a very strange feeling. All of a sudden, it just felt like it felt like I could hear people whispering, "Oh, this is Paul from MAFS." Like, "Oh, that's the villain, that's the bad guy, that's this, that's that." It's like I could, because obviously I could see people looking at me, because obviously, like,
you're recognizable,
a lot of people
right?
could recognize me from the show.
You're famous for
but
6 months.
But as soon as I'd have eyes on me, my brain would automatically go into that defensive mechanism where my brain was thinking, "Oh, they're judging you, they're talking shit about you," right? Well, they probably weren't, But this is what my brain was telling me. And then I literally just developed I had this huge panic attack that day. Literally like heart racing, sweating, like feeling hot. It was honestly horrendous. Had never, ever experienced that before. Ran into a shop to calm the fuck down for a little bit. Went home. And then the next day I just jumped on a session with my therapist to tell him exactly what's happened that day. And then he just kept giving me cues, and he explained to me the reason why I felt like that. He told me what to do to avoid that from happening again, what to do if that happens again, what to do to actually, to calm yourself down in those situations and all that. It was so grateful for this person.
Yeah, it's amazing. And like, what would be some advice that you could give men that are becoming more visible online and becoming, putting themselves out there, having the courage to follow their dreams and ambitions, and those that are stepping into leadership roles?
Yeah. Look, honestly, like, first of all, to any men or women, like anyone who obviously, wants to, like, I guess, gets in the public eye, you're obviously, when you're in the public eye, you are going to be, you are going to be judged. You are going to be criticized. That's, I guess, unfortunately, that's part of the game.
It's the price of admission.
Exactly, it's the price of it. Now, I guess I'd say to these people, be aware of it, be ready for criticism. That's just part of it. But if it becomes too much, then seek help. There's nothing wrong with seeking help and doing therapy. There's incredible therapists out there that are incredible at helping you to navigate through that, and they give you cues and they give you solutions on how to improve or on how to deal with this. Do you know what I mean? And it's incredible because once you learn that, nothing hits you. Nothing. Like now, I still, of course, I still, cop a little bit of criticism here and there, and just literally none of it just hits me anymore. It makes me laugh more than anything, because once you start to realize also that all these haters online, they hating on you and they criticizing you so much, not because they're fulfilled in their lives. It's simply a projection of their own values. They probably obviously not happy with themselves or where they're at. So to them, it's a form of control, right? It's a form of control over your life. They think and it's just essentially a way of them to make themselves a bit better.
So true.
That's what it is.
Hate comes from a place of just projection of insecurities and a projection of deep down in their heart, they know they're not where they could be. And so they're taking that frustration out on someone else to make themselves better. It's a coping mechanism, and 100%. I always laugh. Do you know what? I don't get anywhere near as much as the haters I probably should. But I wish I did. Mate, hate makes the algorithm tick over nicely.
Literally.
Guys, give me some fucking hate, would you? We need a little fucking boost with the Spotify numbers. But no, all jokes aside, like I look at hate as a funny thing. It's a real funny trait that people have.
Isn't it?
It's the very little hate that I do get, or the odd comment here and there, or the odd message going, it's like, fuck, imagine hating on me, right? But like, I look at it as like, fuck, I look at it as a, I'm so glad I don't hate my life enough to use my time and energy to throw shade and throw hate and spend time out of my day to message someone or comment on a photo hate. Yeah. Like, isn't that just it's the most wild concept to me? I've always been a big believer.
Same. Like, I cannot comprehend
taking the time of energy,
this behavior,
the amount of hate that people like over the journey. I've had some pretty nasty messages with, and it's quite interesting that. I laugh. I really do, because it's like I look at it as like, God damn, I could be in a place where I hate my life that much that I have to spend time and energy to throw hate and spend my time and energy on someone else, focusing on someone else. They could have started a podcast with the time, or they could have started, actually achieving what they truly believe and desire in their hearts. So it's crazy to me. Like, but I mean, it's just like we said.
It is. But it's almost fascinating. It's human behavior and I actually feel sorry more than anything for these people. I actually feel sorry for them, because
there is that element of pity, isn't there?
We have a clear vision. We have our path. We're grinding. We're motivated individuals. We're disciplined. We have all these things to look forward to, and then you've got people out there who have nothing better to do than just, going out of their way to go and post hateful comments and you name it, everything else that comes with it. It's just
100%. 100%.
It's sad.
Couldn't agree more. I want to hear your opinion and through your own lived experience, how did you find that, being in a relationship in the public eye, how did that affect the dynamic between you and Karina?
Yeah. Well, so obviously when the shows started airing,
do they change under scrutiny? Do relationships change under scrutiny? So in the sense of you're in the public eye, you're on the screens, right? Everyone in Australia is watching, right? You've got a massive audience. How did that change the dynamic between you and Karina, knowing that what's happening in this very moment is being filmed, it's being, it's being listened to?
Well, obviously, Karina and I weren't together anymore, after the show. So when the show started airing on TV, her and I weren't seeing each other anymore. So there was, we didn't really, obviously we were still there for each other a little bit at the start. We were checking on each other here and there. We would call each other, messaging each other to make sure that we were okay. Because, we were both, copying, a bit of criticism online.
What was she copying criticism for?
Sorry?
What was she copying criticism for?
Oh, well, she was copying criticism for, a few of the things that she had done, said,
Of course.
And that's the thing, on these shows, it doesn't matter who you are in the cast. Every single one of us have copped criticism.
Of course.
Obviously, some of us more than others, and I'm one of them. Do you have it?
Yeah, I don't think there's been too many.
You build thick skin, mate,
Exactly. Thick biceps too.
Yeah. And biceps too, literally. And, so we were there for each other, for a few months. We were supporting each other a little bit, which was great, And then look, after the show, once everything was done, she made the move anyway to move to Sydney. She moved to Sydney, and we both moved on with our lives, and I'm sure she's happy, and I'm extremely happy too. So happy days. You know what I mean?
It's good. So she has moved to Sydney.
Yes, she has.
Awesome, mate. That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, talk to me about. I want to talk about sort of one of our favorite segments of the show. Right?
Yeah, go on.
It's called the What Would You Rather, sponsored by Legit Subs.
Oh yeah.
So I know you like the gym, mate. So we'll get you hooked up with some supplements. But so been a massive sponsor from the beginning. Use the code The Rabbit Hole for 20% off, mate. So are you ready to go down the segment? Ready to play? What would you rather? All right. Would you rather be misunderstood or overlooked?
Or overlooked.
Misunderstood.
Overlooked.
Okay. Would you rather lose money or lose respect?
Lose money.
Would you rather fail publicly or never try?
Fail publicly or?
Never try.
Or never try. Oh, literally, yeah. I think fail publicly massively. Yeah. I mean, I have failed publicly already, mate.
Would you rather be famous or fulfilled?
Fulfilled. Oh, 100%.
Would you rather create for yourself or for other people?
For myself.
Would you rather relive a defining moment or erase a painful one?
What was the first one, sorry?
I can't stop laughing now. All right, ready? Would you rather relive a defining moment or erase a painful one?
Oh, that's a hard one.
We ask the hard-hitting questions here on the Rabbit Hole, mate.
Yeah, probably relive a moment. Yeah.
Would you rather be deeply known or widely liked?
Deeply known or liked? Second one. No.
Widely liked? Would you rather be early or unforgettable?
Unforgettable.
Yeah, you are pretty unforgettable.
Early or unforgettable?
Would you rather live loud or live intentional?
Live intentional. Yeah.
I feel like you're doing a really good job of that. Would you rather trust instinct or logic?
Instinct.
Yeah, love that.
I'm actually quite instinctive, eh?
You are.
In my everyday life.
Paul, listen up. Listen up carefully, okay? You have surrounded yourself with some incredible people. You've had opportunities. You're getting brand deals here, there, and everywhere. Now, I dare say you've met some great people in your life, but who is the most impressive person you've met?
The most impressive person I've met. Do you know who? Probably myself.
I love that. I love that.
Not because I am actually genuine, and I'll tell you why I say that. Because I think I'm genuinely very proud of myself for the things I've achieved in the past 12 months, and also for learning all the things I've learned, and for dealing with everything I've dealt with for the last 12 months, and the person that I am still becoming, and the person that I am now today. I'm actually quite proud of that person.
That's beautiful, mate. That's beautiful. Now, I know you like a good coffee by the pool. You like to get up early. You train hard. What is your favorite quote of all time?
Look, my favorite quote of all time. Look, there's one quote that I absolutely love, and for this reason, it's tattooed on my hand, on my right hand, and it says, "Always remember that your current situation is not your final destination. The best is yet to come." Which essentially always, it's very much me, and it's, there's always so much that I'm inspiring of, and there's so many things that I want to do, that I want to achieve. And, whenever I feel like I'm stuck in the same place, whenever I feel like I'm not moving forward, I always remind myself, that's not your final destination. Things are coming. There's more to come, right?
I love that. I love that. Now, what do you want people to feel after listening to this episode?
I honestly, I genuinely hope that, people will be able to sympathize maybe a bit more with the things I've gone through. Hopefully, maybe some people will be able to relate to the things I've gone through. Hopefully this will even help, some people. Who knows? Because again, there was, this craziness that MAFS was obviously a very false and a very, heavily edited version of who I truly am. And today I'm actually extremely grateful. First of all, thank you again for having me here. And then, I'm grateful that I was able to share my story, show a bit more about my story and who I am, where I come from, things I've gone through, and, to give my own version, my actual version of the story of everything I've gone through, on and after MAFS. And it's been amazing.
What is one styling tip?
Yeah.
So segment sponsored by Cabinet Noir, my clothing sponsor. Incredible clothing apparel run by one of the best human beings in Eddie Maradona, who's actually been a guest on the podcast. They support me with all my clothing needs, podcast related and personal related, and I will wear them forever. Just feel like you, Paul, when I'm wearing these. Yeah. Anyway, so what is the one styling tip, grooming tip that you've implemented in your own life that's helped you level up?
Probably... what would you say, actually, and this is a genuine one. So I don't wear a lot of jewelries, right? But I do wear a little bit, but I only wear, and will only wear, and ever wear family jewelries. This little pinky ring that I wear right now is my grandfather's ring. I normally wear my grandmother's rings next to her. I'm just not wearing it today. And to me, I think this is just that's certainly something that I think that's yeah.
It's very wholesome. So it makes you feel closer to your lineage, your heritage, your bloodline.
It does make me feel closer to my heritage, but it's also it's like they're just there with me all the time. Do you know what I mean?
I love that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that. Now, let's finish with the rabbit hole ripple, right? You've got an amazing, you've met amazing people. You've had such an eclectic life. You've gone through things that most people will never ever experience or even understand. So now that you've had the full rabbit hole experience, right? You've got an amazing life story. You've gone through things that most people couldn't even fathom, understand, or appreciate. Yeah. Who is one person in your network that you would love to see come on the Rabbit Hole podcast and share their story?
Well, actually, how about you, mate? How about we reverse the roles?
There you go.
Because I think you giving us, and you're giving everyone an opportunity to express themselves, to talk about their history, share their history. How about we get to know a little bit more about you? How about we get to know how you started all this and why you've wanted to start all that?
There you go.
How about I sit in that chair next time and then you sit here?
There you go. I love it. There you go, mate. It's a fair point. Yeah. Let's say I've had a few people near and dear to me say the exact same thing.
Yeah,
so might have to be a milestone episode, eh?
Yeah.
We'll get a few of the big star guests to sit in this chair. We might have to line up 3 or 4, mate. We might have to line up 3 more.
Probably
I love that.
Probably my friend Ro. My friend Ro, he's a gym owner. He essentially he lost everything after COVID. And obviously managed to bounce back.
What's his first and last name?
So it's Rohit. So he's a gym owner. And I think he lost a lot after COVID. He managed to obviously bounce back incredibly well after COVID. He now owns Valiant Health and has just recently relocated into some brand new facilities, which I'm extremely excited for. Really excited for him, and he's actually doing his soft launch this coming Sunday. I think his
might have to come back and support him.
His story could be a good one to share.
No, I really appreciate that, and I look forward to you linking us up, mate. I'm always looking for people that have amazing stories, but that quality of resilience is just. It is so powerful, and I mean you've got it in spades, and I'm so proud to be the first to share your story, mate. It's I'm so grateful, and I feel blessed that our paths have crossed because I've said this to you before. I've honestly said this to you before. It's like I'm not looking for friends, I'm looking for brothers, and the way that you've handled everything that you've gone through with such maturity and vulnerability, it speaks volumes of the person you are and the character you are. So Paul, thank you for your honesty, perspective, and the work you're doing to help men raise their standards and show up better in their lives. To everyone listening, this episode is a reminder that transformation doesn't always start with a massive life overhaul. Sometimes it starts with self-respect, with standards, with deciding that how you show up matters. If this conversation resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Follow the podcast, and remember, when you stop performing for the world and start living in alignment, everything else begins to fall into place. I'll see you in the next one.